evaluated on the basis of a feasibility assessment and research excellence. Whether from academia, industry or policy, through its easy and straightforward application process, Assemble Plus provides scientists with on-site or remote access to biological resources, varied ecosystems, experimental facilities, technology platforms, e-infrastructure and expertise, and provides lodging and catering support over the course of their placement. Assemble Plus also performs its own networking and research activities, ranging from interacting with new users and businesses to cryobanking marine organisms to providing diving services for researchers. Over the course of the project, as well as providing access, Assemble Plus aims to strengthen transnational and multidisciplinary networks, create public-private partnerships, enable new technologies and services, upskill researchers, and improve the long-term sustainability of Europe's marine biological stations. So, if you're a researcher in need of access to marine infrastructure, such as laboratories, equipment, or any other provision, Assemble Plus welcomes proposals for access on a rolling basis from the 29th of August 2018 to the 30th of October 2020. For more information about the project and call for access, please visit www.assembleplus.eu.
So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Assemble Plus conference. And so this session, we're going to have the presentations of two marine stations institutes of the Assemble Plus. The first one is the Institute of Oceanology of the Polish Academy of Sciences, and is going to be presented by Piotr Kuklinski. Please, Piotr, go ahead and make your presentation.
Very good. Good morning. It's still morning here. So just to say, my presentation will be made of two parts. First one would be the PowerPoint presentation, and I don't know. Do you see it correctly, Adelino? Is all good?
It's fine.
Okay. And then I show you a short video which will show you how a major infrastructure, which is a ship, and will probably introduce some dynamics, so you won't sleep. So this is the image, kind of overview of our institute. You can see it's by the sea, but it's not next to the sea, so it's not really a sort of classical marine station. But it's a true research institute where we have no teaching, but we do pure research. But we have no, for example, access to running seawater, etc. Not proper marine station labs, and all the heavy equipment, infrastructure we have sort of scattered in the marinas next to us. But as you can see, we're close to the sea, but we're not by the sea, and we're not a classical marine station. But we were called before a marine station, and we were closer to the sea. But with these new facilities, not so new, but newer, we not have that access. So we very interdisciplinary institute, as you can see, except really sort of marine biological research. We have also departments which are dealing with oceanography, physics, chemistry. And then we have a big chunk which sort of is related to marine biology, and of course we, as a marine ecologist, we're using all the other knowledge generated by the rest of the institute, and it's very nice to have them around. But when it comes sort of to Assembly Plus and marine biology, these are the departments. Now I list the departments which are kind of involved in serving Assembly Plus users. So this is the Marine Ecology Department, where I'm employed, Department of Genetics and Marine Biotechnology, Department of Oceanography, and Department of Marine Chemistry and Biochemistry. This is our sort of main attraction when it comes to Assembly Plus. This is our ship, which is almost 50 meters long, and it can have on board 14 scientists. This sounds not a lot, but the boat has a soul, and you can do quite a lot from this, from dredging to grabbing plankton, sampling, and lots of physical and chemical oceanography as well. It's getting a bit dated now, so we're looking for funds to get a new boat. But this one, I'm still very attached to it, and it's I've done quite a lot of work from it. And as you can see, it has unlimited range. So the main sort of area where it operates and where our research concentrates is the Baltic Sea, which is just near us, and we operate quite a lot from the European sector of Arctic, but we focus mostly on Svalbard when it comes to marine biology. But probably the Baltic Sea needs a bit of introduction. I don't know if anyone knows that, everyone knows that this is a sort of brackish sea, so it's not fully saline. And for some research questions, it might be really nice for you guys to use it. You have a whole range of salinity where we are based, so that's the dot. We have salinity of 7 PSU, but then you go up sort of north, you have basically 0 PSU, and you go to the entrance of the sea, you have full salinity. So this you can keep in mind when using us for some research, as Baltic Sea is really unusual sea in Europe, and for some research question might be really proper to do some research. Arctic, I don't think it needs any introduction. We annually start cruises from Gdańsk. It goes towards North Norway, and then it starts do lots of zooplankton research and hydrology, and then it goes to the Svalbard, where it does lots of different sorts of research, including benthic studies, chemistry, oceanography, and etc. And we do it for years. And this is just example. We have over 20 years of monitoring of Greenland Sea, which I've just mentioned. This is from Northern Norway up to Svalbard. So we have quite not only knowledge but lots of background information about this system here, and with proper contacts, you can use it as well for your biological investigations. We established as an institute in 1953. So over this period, we could gather lots of biological collections, and so this is just an example of our marine ecology storage, which house samples from, of course, Baltic Sea, North Atlantic, North Pacific, Arctic, mainly Svalbard, but also Antarctic. Some of the users just come to investigate these collections, as some of them are quite unique. So also you can think about this. And of course, both research, both as invertebrate collection, you can use remotely or on site. We have both requests for the boat and for the collection, so you can see it's all doable. To Assembly Plus, we also, provide expert advice. We have a number of people which deal with identification or even proper taxonomy of the marine biota. That includes Baltic Sea and Arctic, and you have listed here some of the people who can do things, and that's often useful to establish cooperation, as we have this knowledge of these regions where we work. Another thing,
just a small short interruption. Don't move too much around because of then it affects the sound. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So another service we provide is scientific diving, and that's where I'm part of. And I'm very keen on it, and I'm kind of proud that we have a group which operates both, Arctic, Antarctic, but also in the Baltic Sea nearby. So here, many of our projects are using scientific diving, and we have very experienced group. So this also can be used as remote or on site. And we already had a number of projects which used actually both remote and on site. But of course, to mention one thing is that on site, you have to be experienced to work with us in Arctic. We don't probably accept everyone to do that. And you have here examples of images taken both Arctic and Antarctic, where we did quite a lot of work, both under ice and free ice waters. Now I'd like to take you through some facilities we have, and this is example of our zooplankton facilities. It's not a rocket science, but we are quite well equipped when it comes to microscopy and imaginary. We kind of classical ecologists, so we take samples from the field with a certain question in mind, and then we go and analyze it across different gradients or whatever we have in mind. So this is example of our zooplankton lab. This is a phytoplankton lab. So we have two fancy microscopes for that. They call the inverted microscopes. So again, not a rocket science. And that's a Bentic lab, always the most messy ones. Again, just microscopes and stereo microscopes and some scales, etc. And the Department of Marine Chemistry and Biochemistry, we use as biologists too, and we had at least 2 Assembly Plus users who use that, and they have a number of equipment which are useful for people. So this is just to mention that there's HPLCs there, a number of spectrometers. I'm just listing a number of them, but of course you can contact people and or ask me if you have certain questions. And just to mention, you know, the personal contacts when it comes to assembly was very successful. People always contact me, and then I spread around the questions they have, and that works quite well. And actually, with this slide, I would like to finish this part, and then I show you a probably almost 5 minutes video, which will show you the characteristic of our work in the Arctic. And with that video, I'll probably finish and we'll be ready for your question if you have any. So now let's see how the video is gonna work. Share the sound. Gonna work.
napisane? Masz 30, 19.
To było 19. 30. Dzień dobry, dzień dobry. My już tu skończyliśmy na tej stacji i chcielibyśmy płynąć na stację PNH.
Okay, thank you. So that's what all I wanted to present and show you. And can you hear me?
Thank you, Piotr. It was very impressive images of the Arctic. So we have already one question on the chat. Davide Di Coccio.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Piotr. Very great presentation and very nice video. So, okay, the question is, my question is, how has been to host a transnational access user? Did you have to change so much the way your institute normally operates? I ask you that because we are often in contact and you supervise all and coordinate all the activity for TA. So I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I know you. I know, Davide. Yeah. So we had for the ship, we have on-site 2 users, and we had 2 remote users for the ship. We had some remote users for chemical labs. Now we have at least people who want to come to Institute work on the collections on site. So this has to wait. So we just wait for. We have now at least one request for the scientific diving when it comes to remote for the Arctic, but that has to wait too. It was postponed to this year. The biggest problem always with the ship, as you can see, it's only 14 scientists, and usually the Arctic cruises are quite overloaded. So with that, so far we didn't have that many requests, and there was not that many, problem with that. But I can see that if there will be lots of requests for that, there will be a problem. But usually, I evaluate it beforehand and then talk to people, and so far it was so good. So yes. So I don't know. Did I answer your question or?
So what kind of requests have you had from Assemble, from people that want to go and use it?
There was one which I think there was a presentation on the first day of Assembly Plus. So we collected basically benthic samples, but the scale of it was along all the Svalbard, West Svalbard. So that was pretty good. and pretty easy to achieve. The second was a guy from Latvia. He was a PhD student, and he, except collecting some sediment, he also he did an experiment on board. So he was quite happy also with that. So then we had the two remote for remote access, 2 requests, and that was mostly sample collections.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good way, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Anyone wanted to know more about the institute or the boat, the ship, I would say? No.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, are you bound when you're going to? So, do you implement when someone is going to use the ship? Do you implement this in your normal cruises or routines, or will it be done like an extra cruise? And who will be assigned to
Usually
the cruise leader?
the route is defined, but it's let's say we have fjords of Western Spitsbergen. But of course, within fjords, we can design according to needs sampling design. Of course, you know the planning for the summer cruise is on the way now. So if I would have requests for the cruise in spring, I wouldn't be able to do it. So you have to think in advance about it, and then we can facilitate it. But
okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
because as you probably everyone knows, the planning of such a big event as Arctic cruise is quite lengthy and lots of discussion meetings.
Yeah.
But as I said, this sort of major area we cannot change as it is defined. But then we can tune it according to needs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Is Wiebe Questra?
Yes.
Can you ask the question?
Hello, Piotr. So do you have any experience separate from Assemble Plus Access with private companies that want to make use of your ship for, let's say, doing research in the Arctic in whatever way, for sampling things that you then have to ship to them, or that they want to be on board in testing toolkit or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, but you have to keep in mind that we are, pure Blue Science Institute, and we try to keep it as much as possible, because if we don't do it, no one else will do it. So we get some commercial cruises, like recently, all the wind turbines, and for example, they want to do some environmental assessment, but that's we consider it commercial. In the Arctic, we had one cruise which was kind of bought by the Norwegian semi-commercial company, but we're talking about 4 days. Usually we try to have a highest proportion devoted to blue sky science, which is not applied science. So to answer your questions, we not very willing to do that sort of commercial things unless it's within the not applied science, because we're aware, and it's our mission to do the not applied science, because if we don't do it, no one will do it in Poland, at least. So of course it might change with the management. So current management and the past management is try to keep it in mind and limit the commercial use of at least the boat. But some scientists are getting involved in commercial research, and but then I don't know, maybe the price, the money can change things quite a lot. So I don't know if I answer your question, but
well, yeah, in some way, because I understand a little bit the worry the scientists have. But for the economic management of the institute, if the ship is part-time sitting idle, because there is no work for it. It still costs money. The fixed costs are there. And if you can fill that up with contract research for, let us say, companies that want to do something in the Arctic, then you take that on board as well to fill in the time. But it becomes a problem if this starts to hinder the fundamental research that is in the, well, what is the aim of the institute? And you don't want to be blown out of the researchers don't want to be blown out of the water because somebody wants to do, well, sample something for an environmental impact study with low scientific or low intellectual impact.
But just to comment, so far we didn't have a problem with, the ship is over probably 200 days a year at sea, which is quite a lot. And usually it's not at sea because of it needs to maintain this. So far we didn't have any economical crisis when it comes to the ship, as this is a separate budget from the government. So far so good. Maybe if we would face some economical problems, the things would change. But so far so good. But I agree, if we would have such problems that the boat is sitting in the harbor and not doing anything, I think there will be lots of discussion about. But so far so good. So
thank you.
Just a quick question. Do you get many more visitors other than the request from Assemble Plus?
Yes and no. I think people still, even I advertise within the institute quite a lot that they should spread these things and they can get visitors, they get collaboration running. They still don't use it often. And then we get people who could come as Assembly Plus users and they struggle financially. But so I don't see a huge difference in, people coming into Institute because of Assembly Plus. So I think there's still something that we don't do about right advertisement, maybe. Yeah. I'm trying my best, even within the Institute, but
how about within Poland? Is there much request for you within Poland?
No, I mean...
So you do your own research, use your facilities, your resources?
I mean, we have lots of national collaborations, but we are so few marine institutes that we know each other. So I don't know personally people, I know who they are. So we're not a huge marine biology, nation. And so we know each other very well. And so this is not a problem. We know all the infrastructures we have within the Poland. So it's more about international.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, thank you very much. It was illuminating. It's good to know about what's going on in the different places. We learn from each other too.
Okay, so I think I'm muting myself, right, and then letting some.
That's it. You've done your part.
At NHBS, our purpose is to support those who are passionate about wildlife, ecology, and conservation. We stock a variety of books and equipment to suit the needs of marine conservation professionals, and our innovation and research team are here to help develop custom products for any project. We are happy to provide advice and to support you before, during, and after your purchase. Visit nhbs.com today to find out more.
Okay, so now we're going to hear the next presentation. This is about the marine station at Helgoland, and which is part of the Alfred Wagner Institute for Polar and Marine Science. And Eva Maria Brote is going to present it. I'm sure, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce correctly your name.
No, it was nearly perfect. Thank you.
Oh, nearly perfect. Well, thank you very much. So go ahead and
Yes,
present
thank
your
you.
institute.
I'm going to share the screen now. Try at least. Share. And then go on presentation mode. So I think you will be able to see it now. Yes,
That's
okay.
fine.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I'm particularly delighted that I can present the biological station Helgoland and the Watton station Sylt here. I will go a little bit into this because actually within the Assemble Plus program, we are 2 locations which are firmed under one name, which is the Biologische Anstalt Helgoland. I will guide you a little bit through the history, and then I hope it will work with this. Okay. So I think now it will work. Yes. Okay. So living here on Helgoland, you are aware that the biological station is one of the oldest marine stations in Europe, and which has been run nearly constantly, and it has been allocated and formed with the station on Sylt in the early 90s of our century. So the idea of the field station actually, and this is what I love this story because it kind of combines us to the Anton Dorn station. So greetings to Wiebe here. The idea of putting up a station as a field station to have access to an environment and to have an access to the biological material and will be able to do field work was done during an excursion. But the first station which was run within the spirit or founded wasn't the station on Helgoland, but it was the Anton Dorn station in Naples. So, and I was happy a few years ago to visit this, and it felt very good. So the idea was the same, and I think it's a good idea, and it's like a frame from the start until now to the Assemble Plus program that we kind of interconnect all the marine stations. So having kind of a history, you have some former buildings which no longer exist. We started actually in an old post office, and then we had a proper aquarium and some new buildings which will be during the war were bombarded. Then the island wasn't accessible to anyone for about 8 to 7 years. And then after the rebuilding of the whole island, the station was rebuilt as well, with the face and the buildings as it looks now, which is in the style of Bauhaus architecture. There has been some experiments with the underwater laboratory done, which were cancelled after, again, like 7 years time, and which is still now available like a piece you can watch in a museum, but not here on Helgoland, but on the mainland. So, and in the 90s, the Biologische Anstalt Helgoland, which was already together with the station on Sylt, joined the AVI, which was a very interesting and I think on the long run, a very wise political decision. There has been some political struggles about this, and different governmental bodies were not so clear how to deal with this. But in the end, I think it pays off that we now in a very huge institute with this big infrastructure, and I will come back to this later, which has something to do with maybe our sustainability as a station here on such a remote place. But first of all, I would like to introduce you a little bit more into the station and our infrastructures. So we are located on Helgoland, which is Germany's only offshore island. We are still, so we are oceanographers and marine biologists, so it's not offshore, it's still a shelf sea, we know it, but it's not a barrier island like Sylt. Sylt, for instance, it's the most northern island in Germany, and we are on the northern tip with the station of this island. So we have two very different habitats from where and which we can do field work. So our infrastructure is, of course, the buildings. And the upper part you see the newer building on Helgoland and as well the new building on Sylt. Both are very nearly located to the water. You can see from every building the water side, the seaside, which is very simple on Helgoland because this island is just about 1 square kilometer from the area. We have some underwater infrastructure, which is part of a huge underwater data network set. I always called it a little bit, so to explain this to students, I always say it's like a huge underwater plug where you can literally plug a lot of things to and see the parameters on your screens. We have a similar device like this as well in Spitzbergen, and we can see the temperature, the currents, the waves, the density of particles within the water, but as well doing cameras, adding on camera systems. And we're going to offer this as well for persons who are going to test their sensors or want to test some devices with this. And so we can do it in the vicinity of the island under secure circumstances. And then we're going to plan a few huge ponds, which were 3 ponds, a little bit more like swimming pools. I'm hesitating to call it mesocosms because the size of it's much more enlarged, and this will be coupled with the facilities underwater, but this is still under construction. We have a very strong support by our Scientific Diving Center, which not just only does education, but as well conducts a lot of scientific dives per year and helps us with collecting materials, promoting science underwater, deploying instruments, etc. And the access to biota is actually a very crucial part here on the station Sylt and Helgoland, both of them, because a lot of universities are ordering material from us to get it and teach this within their labs and in their classes. And especially now in Corona times, it's very crucial to have these like remote access. And of course, we have our guest labs, additional to the onboard science. And I always compare it with a little bit like a research vessel. So we have some basic equipment there, but the more sophisticated stuff you're going to ask to use, to carry with you and use it. When we go into this, you will see some pictures to this later on as well. And this is supported, so the guest section, all the infrastructure is supported by the scientific section of both island stations, and which leads to so we can support researchers here just with service and cooperation or pure cooperation. We have a lot of master students, bachelor students, close cooperation with the universities, but as well people who are just like actually just benefit from the knowledge, from the field knowledge of our colleagues here and just use our rooms or infrastructure. And to give you a little bit of the insight, we have as well what we call capacity building or capacity development. The new term would be capacity exchange, which are like much more programs we're running here. We have school labs where kids from school come here for one week. Usually we have the university courses. It's a round of total for Sylt and Helgoland. It will be up to 60 courses, 60 to 70 courses in a normal year. And then we have the International Capacity Program, which is the NF Progress Center of Excellence, where we offer 10 scholarships to very excellent young researchers from developing or emerging countries. Of course, you have to stay as guest scientists. I just show a few pictures here, and the range could be broad. So you see people who are working with actually macroalgae. On the right side, the guy with the striped hemp is actually from Israel, but he's now located in Munich. He is interested in stem cells from Rotryllus, some ascidians. So, and we have microbial people who just like more interested in putting some water drops onto agar plates. So it's very different what the people can do here. And to give you some insight, I'm just showing you a short embedded video. So it has some explanatory sublines. Here you see the building, one of our main buildings. You get a little bit insight of how the classrooms look like and how our facilities look like the labs. Of course, the field, because this is an important point. We are in Germany, the only point where you can access a Rocky intertidal. Our classrooms are equipped with one microscope and binocular per each student, so it's okay, I think. You have access to the research vessel and can do some sampling. We will assist by this. You can ask the divers to get you one. And here you see part of our support of biota and material, which will be shipped to university as well to the mainland. Within this, we have our special training. This is this 10-month training within the Center of Excellence, which is supported by POGO and the Nippon Foundation, and a lot of deal with the IAVI as well, because we see the need where they get a real hands-on experience, actually. And yeah. So this was Helgoland, and now we're going to swap a little bit more north. We're going to move to Sylt. Sylt started as an oyster research and developed to a huge spot for ecological research. They have a time series like we on Helgoland, and it's very nice to have like these very different habitats and access to these different habitats as well. You see a small introduction to the work, what we do on Sylt. And maybe you mute maybe you can mute the tone a little bit. I can't. Maybe I can. Yeah. I choose this to show you a little bit more the insight again to the ecosystem. Here you have directly access you can just walk by foot from the station into your experimental field. Where you can set up experiments under direct field conditions. You see some of the oysters which are now there. You get some insights on, this is actually our newest research from the small boats, our newest research vessel, which is equipped with a lot of technical devices to explore the ground, especially for the coastal geology. So we have side scan, multi-beam, and different kinds to explore and describe the habitat concerning the different preferences of mussel beds and seagrass meadows, etc. Like on Helgoland, you could make use of some more advanced devices. This will then happen into cooperation with our partners on site. They will grant you access to the device and help you with dealing with the devices. Here you see the mesocosms. I will give you more insights with a few pictures as well. So, and the mesocosms is something what you can see here more clearly. So this was an experimental device which was set up to bridge the gap from the lab experiences and experiments and the field results, to have something in between where we can modulate the water height, so we can mimic a tidal cycle, etc. And these devices was set up and tested. A lot of development was gone into. I know that a lot of guest colleagues as visiting scientists would like to participate in this. And I think we will be in 1 year time, we will be able to grant this access much more, because we just get the information that we are allowed and get the money to kind of double our setup for this. So after now testing and using it, so we will have like double mesocosm than we have so far. So I was talking about the access to the ecosystem. This is purely not just done by food. Of course, we have a fleet of some research vessel. The very small one, it's Ade, which goes on a work daily basis out of the shore. Then we have the Myja and the Utörn. The Myja is located on Sylt, the Utörn on Helgoland, which is a multi-purpose vessel and will be rebuilt, I think, in the next 3 years. Then we get a new ship. And of course, the Heinke. The Heinke is located at Helgoland, but to be honest, she has about nearly 300 days at sea, so she's hardly ever in the harbor of Helgoland, because she's just always on the way doing research. One major part what we're going to deal with is because we exist so long, is our long time data. And a crucial part, especially now, is the temperature. So we have as well for Helgoland as for Sylt, we have a long-term temperature record. It's not just temperature, it's as well nutrients and Secchi depth and salinity. And twice a week, it's as well phytoplankton and zooplankton. But it's important for us now, of what's the main request actually is the temperature data, because it's used to run models and has been used in calibrating models and validating models. And unfortunately, we see a very high, and this is proven, so we see in temperature increase in the last 50 years from 1.7 degrees, and the same is more or less in Sylt. And to give you an insight how this works, how we get these temperature data. So we going with the boat out of the harbor with the Ade, work daily. And to be honest, 50% of the time scientists were on board. The rest of the time it was just done by the crew members, who are very advanced, and because they do it now for such a long time, they know just what to do. So they collect plankton samples and water samples, and it's much done as it has been done the last 100 years. So we use very simple method like the Secchi depth or a bucket to gain the surface water sample, and we still use the same thermometers to have no artificial problems within our temperature data line. And then it goes back and the samples are ready to process in the lab. Quite simple as it. So yeah, because it's so nice and special, I want to close this presentation and open the floor for questions, because I thought this is a great venue to, especially in between colleagues, have a lively discussion how things are on the different stations and how you're going to work and face the different challenges. And I show you some insights as well, because this is so for a German space station, this is very special to have this access to the rocky intertidal. And because I like these pictures so much, and just have like a dive. It's now just like having a dive. It's not so great as the coral reefs in Eilat, but it's as well pretty, a little bit pretty. Here you see some sand eels flashing around, and our iconic animal, the compass jelly, and the lobster hiding, some seals hiding in the copes. And then we get some insight, not just in the macroscopic fauna, but as well in the microscopic fauna, to see some nice small animals. Yes. And with this, I want to close my presentation, and I will be happy for your questions.
Thank you, Eva. That was a very nice presentation, very beautiful videos. I don't know if you may have mentioned it, but I didn't, I forgot anyway, if you mentioned. So how many people do you have at any one time in the Marine Station?
I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So I think it's, can I stop it here? Stop. Yeah, so I see you a little bit better. How many we at once? So we can, under usual conditions, not Corona conditions, because we had kind of a plan how many people we can afford until the special hygienic regulations. So we could have in total, just in the gas labs, we can have 8 guest scientists if they would be happy to share some space within, because we have some outside spaces as well, and it could go up to 15. So we had this as well, that we have 15 guest scientists when they especially working together. And then we have 2 course rooms, so we can run 2 university courses parallel. So just from the point of guests, if we going to our maximum capacity at the station, it would be 55 persons per day, which is covering as well, because this is a crucial part with the accommodations we have here. So we have a guest house for the student courses, and we have a guest house for the scientists visiting us, because the accommodation on an island like Sylt and Helgoland, so this was Helgoland, and for Sylt it's a little bit different, because there's just 1 course room, so there will be up to 20 students per 1 class once, and I think we can handle 8 scientists on Sylt station, so it would be 28 externals per day maximum.
Yeah. That's pretty good. So there's no questions. Anyone? Has anyone visited Helgoland? I've never been there, so.
So you're welcome to visit us.
Yeah, well, it's because, in fact, in my university, I've got one person that did a PhD there many years ago in microbiology, and so I knew. But
yeah, a lot of this was I put the saying somewhere in the presentation, because it was so nice. It was a person which we collaborate in a different context, and he says, oh, it's so strange. He's coming from New Zealand and now working on Ireland, but he says, oh, it's so strange. Whenever I'm talking to someone who has something to do with a German background, and he's in a marine context, he once has been as a student on Helgoland, because we have in normal times 40 universities applying for the courses here.
Sounds good. Anyone else? It seems as if certainly you were very, very informative, very much detailed.
No more questions.
So,
yeah,
no.
I can just repeat. So you are. I invite you to come and visit us and see the facility. So every one of you, I would be happy.
No, I think that since the project has another 1.5 years, almost 2 years, maybe by then we have a chance to have actually a front-to-front meeting, and well, I don't know exactly where we decide to go, but I would say somewhere around there.
Yeah, this would be great.
Oh well, if there's no one else, I thank everybody, and I thank Eva for a very nice presentation. And so we have more talks this afternoon, at 1:30 European Central Time,
Mhm.
and a few other talks. So we have four talks this afternoon, and also it should be quite nice talks. And so thank you everyone, and see you later.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Bye bye.